This video is coming to you with the help of one of my cats, Ed. He won't leave me alone. So, what's that, mate? He's a bit of a poser. You're in my way. Not left me alone all day, and now he's still not leaving me alone and sitting in front of the camera. Hi guys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all very well. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I've seen people do this a lot on YouTube, but I've never done it before. So what I wanted to try and do is, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, is shoot a product commercial on my iPhone 12 Pro. Now, as I said, I've never done it. Before we get into it, I'm just going to play the commercial and then show a little bit of the behind the scenes, and then we'll come back and chat about it. Okay, so this is basically the setup that I've had for the whole of this commercial shoot. As you can see, my room is a lot of a mess. I have stuff everywhere and it is a very, very makeshift setup. Basically, what I have done is I have got this yellow paper that I've used as a backdrop. I have somehow managed to hold it on top of my shelf, so the roll is at the back here, and then I've held it in place with two Gorilla Pods so it doesn't roll off. And I have here my Manfrotto tripod with the iPhone 12 Pro on here, and I was using VideoMic Pro, the app, instead of the Canon camera app to film. I have the Coke can, obviously, because that is what we were shooting. So basically what you saw on camera was shots like this, and obviously the glass that I used to fill up as part of the end shot. So even though it looks like that on camera, or something roughly like that, this is what it actually looks like behind the scenes. So I was using my softbox to light it, and in there is the Aperture B7C, and that can go as light or as bright as I want. I can change the colours, and that's pretty much it. It's as simple as that. So I was waving the light around up here. I took it out of the softbox and was waving it around to try and get those different lighting effects, and hopefully it's worked. Hopefully it looks alright. So I'm gonna go and edit the footage now and see what I can make of it. So that was my silly little Coca-Cola commercial that I shot this morning on my iPhone 12 Pro, and Ed's still not leaving me alone, bless him. But anyway, as I mentioned before, I have not shot a commercial before or any sort of product photography or video. So having seen people try this, I was intrigued as to what you could do, and I thought, having recently picked up the iPhone 12 Pro, that I would try and shoot it on this, because as we know, the cameras on these now are, he's gone, the cameras on the iPhones now are pretty incredible. So what better way to test out the camera than to shoot a product commercial? If you're interested, Ed is now curled up underneath the tripod that this camera is on. Now, to shoot this little commercial, as I showed you in that little behind the scenes, I swapped this whole room round. I hung some yellow paper off this shelf, laid it down onto the desk, and used a pretty much only one light. I use my Aperture B7C that I'm using right now to light me. Now I did learn a hell of a lot doing this little shoot because it made me start to think about lighting a little bit more, and that is one area that I think I need to improve at to be able to create better videos. Now, as I mentioned, I didn't use the Apple camera app. I used the VideoMic Pro app, which does cost £15, but it is far better and it gives you much more control over the lighting because you can control your shutter speeds and your ISOs, which you can't really do in the Apple camera app. So when it comes to lighting, being able to control that on your phone if you are shooting on your phone is massively helpful, because you don't want your apertures and your white balances to be changing, because then the colors of the backgrounds will change where the light is in a different place, for example. Lighting is a big thing when it comes to making little product videos. I don't think I had enough light in my video because, as you can see, there is quite a little bit of grain in some of the shots. Now this is my fault because I've not used enough light, and I didn't take into account the fact that iPhones do need a hell of a lot of light going into the sensors. Now yes, they have night mode, but that's in photography, but the sensors on these phones are absolutely tiny. Yes, there is an incredible amount of computational photography going into this, which is how you can manage to get such good photos from an iPhone nowadays, but they still need a hell of a lot of light to be able to get good quality video out of them, especially if you are using the correct shutter speeds for your frame rates. So if you film any video, you will know that your shutter speed needs to be double your frame rate. I shot a lot of this in 4K 50 frames a second, so my shutter speed was at 100 frames a second, which then means you need to boost the ISO a little bit to be able to get a good quality image. I don't think I kind of got the right balance between the ISO and the lighting, and that is something that I'm going to try and correct next time I do one of these little videos. However, saying all that, I am massively impressed by the footage that has come out of the iPhone, especially towards the end of this little commercial where I started to figure out the lighting, and it looks a lot brighter. Now at the start of the video I did want it to look darker because I wanted those flashes of light. So what I was doing was I took the Aperture B7C out of my softbox and I was waving it around over the can of Coke, and it looks great. You get those little flashes of light over it and it goes back into darkness, and I really like that sort of shot, but I definitely think I needed to either brighten the light or adjust my settings in VideoMic Pro even more. But that is something you learn just by doing, and now that I've done it, I know that I need to go and correct that in the future. So if I was ever to shoot something like this, usually I would go for my main cameras, but as I mentioned before, I wanted to see how good the iPhone 12 Pro cameras are. I've done quite a bit of photography with them over the last couple of weeks since I've had this phone, and I am blown away with it for photography. What goes on inside these phones is just mind-blowing. Computational photography is very quickly catching up to mirrorless and DSLR cameras. Not to say that it ever will catch up completely, but the results you can get from these, just incredible. For video, I think it's a little bit different. I don't think they're yet up to the quality, well, I know for a fact they're definitely not up to the quality of a DSLR or mirrorless camera. You can't really get the depth of field in video like you can in photography on an iPhone because they've got portrait mode and they've now got LiDAR on the back. I would like to see the depth of field come into video mode on an iPhone. I think that would really start to open up a new world of iPhone videography. I'm still massively impressed that for the size of these little tiny sensors, the quality of image you can get. Now I did mess up the lighting, as we've already spoke about in a couple of shots, but when you get it right, the results you can get are incredible. For this is a mobile phone. Its first job is a mobile phone, and they are very quickly over the years. I used to have the iPhone XR. It had one camera, it came out 2 years ago, and you were very limited as to what you could do on it. This is 2 years later, and that is just mind-blowing what you can do with it. The results you can get from it in photography and video, even though they are still a long way behind mirrorless and DSLR cameras, the results you can get are phenomenal, and it is going to be incredible to see what happens over the next few years and how far they do actually come. Will we ever need a DSLR or mirrorless camera in the future? Who knows? Maybe one day that will be the only camera we ever need. I am blown away as to how good the camera is. You are very limited, as I mentioned. You do need a lot of light if you are using video on here, but definitely use the VideoMic Pro app if you can get it, because the functionality on there, it's so different to the iPhone camera app. The iPhone camera app is designed to make it as easy as possible to get great quality footage without even having to do anything, but to get the extra control, to control the white balance, to control your shutter speeds, you need an app like VideoMic Pro. Now the results you can get from this are phenomenal. Is it the same as using a DSLR or a mirrorless camera? No, and you're not going to be able to get the same shots. You can't get the depth of field that you can get in photography mode on an iPhone. You can't get that in video mode. So you're not going to be able to get the same shots as you can get on a DSLR or mirrorless camera. And you are limited to apertures. You're limited to those 3 lenses as well. So you've got the telephoto, the wide and the ultra wide, and you can't really get in very close to do the macro sort of shots you can get with some lenses on a mirrorless camera. So you can't do the really close-up details. You can get things that kind of look like that, but they're not quite the same. So I think that is something for the iPhone to improve on in the future. The depth of field, whether you can do macro shots, that is an area for the iPhone to improve on in the future, I think. So that is it for this little product commercial shoot and how I shot it. My first attempt at doing a little commercial. I might try some more in the future, see if I can improve. I might try some more on my proper camera instead of an iPhone and see if the differences are that much different. So if you like what you see in this channel, click that little subscribe button down below, give this video a thumbs up, and I shall see you all very soon in another video.